everybody. I've decided to do yet another vlog, and I'm hoping this might help people understand why I need Jellybean with me all the time. And I will kind of, hopefully, in my head, I have a plan on how this vlog's gonna go. So if I seem to go off track, then I apologize. But I kind of want to, do a point by point on, the physical need that I have, that requires that I have her, as well as the psychological aspect of it. And I'll give you a few examples on, how she's helped me thus far. So I will start off with the physical. I now have this harness that she wears, and basically when I'm walking, I just hold on to this pull strap is what it's called. I don't hang on to the handle as much, really. But it really gives me some stability for when I'm going up and down stairs. I don't, put any pressure on her when I'm using it, because as you can see, it's pretty flimsy. But it's nice to have, especially when, she's ahead of me, and she almost pulls me up the stairs, sort of, or she'll, help me navigate downstairs, which, I do have some difficulty, on my bad days. And what I tend to deal with on a physical level is my calf muscles seize and I can't move. The best way that I can describe it is it's like having a Charlie horse, but times that by like 10 or maybe a little more. But or if you've kind of over exercised and your muscles contract, that's kind of what happens with me, and I can't move when that happens. So if I'm going up and down stairs, that can be quite treacherous. And there was a few occasions that I actually almost fell down some stairs because of my calf muscles seizing. So having her, it's kind of been a safety measure, and that was one of the reasons why I had her. For a time, I was using a walker. That was useful, because I rely on the public transportation. So waiting for buses at certain bus stops was difficult for me because they didn't have, a bus shelter. And so I had nowhere to sit. So using the walker was helpful in that department. I had my own chair with me. So if I got exhausted, I was able to sit down. But I encountered a few times where older buildings didn't have elevators. Actually, one building had a set of stairs, and the elevator was actually on the second floor to get to the other floors. That made no sense to me, but anyways, so I had to carry my walker up and down stairs, and I was unstable as it was, so it was very, very difficult for me to do that. So that's one area where she has been a huge help, is helping me up and down stairs. Yeah, I do suffer from dizzy spills pretty much all the time. I've got some degree of dizziness, and so when I get super dizzy, just having that strap there it helps me to kind of with my counterbalance, because I do my balance kind of goes. So that's been kind of helpful. And I just started working with her, and I'm gonna work with her more as she gets older, is doing brace work. So on my bad days, if I need help getting out of, a chair, or, say I'm sitting in, in a seat at in a bus or the subway or whatever, just having her in front of me, and then I lightly, brace myself so that I can get up. So I mean, that's some of the areas that she helps me on a physical level, and on a psychological level, her tasks that she has been trained to do is, because one activity that brings me a great deal of anxiety is shopping, and I've been like that since I was very, very young. Yeah, it would, one of the physical things that I suffer from is IBS, and the anxiety would actually trigger that. And so, one of the things, because of the events that I've suffered, or experienced, I should say, one of the huge triggers is having somebody come up from behind me. If you want to set me off into a panic attack, sneak up from behind. So that doesn't happen. Jellybean is trained so that nobody can sneak up on me. So she will either be in front of me, that's called block, and then her being behind me is cover. She tends to block more than she covers, and she does that on her own. And so then that way, that gives me that extra boundary, so to speak, and nobody can sneak up on me. The other thing, and actually, because of my PTSD, and she actually did this the other day, is for whatever reason, and this is just part of my PTSD, is sometimes I disassociate. And we were on our way to a store, actually, and I disassociated while I was on my walk. And she actually kept on course. I was amazed. And it's kind of an unnerving thing. It's almost like being in your own little world. And, it's like, I don't want to say an out-of-body experience, but it's like you're there, but you're not there, and you're not aware of some of the stuff that you're doing. And that can be scary. I've had dissociative episodes last a few minutes to hours. This one was, I guess, this is only an estimate, about 20 minutes. And so we were on our walk, and next thing I know, I'm at the store where we had to be. So I don't recall giving her any commands or anything like that. I just remember just being at the store. Anyway, so she helps me, in a way, be safe. So she's able to bring me to a safe location. And actually, there was an incident where it was actually on my last trip. She was only 9 months old when she did this. I had gone on a walk with her, and it was 1:30 in the morning. And I decided I was going to take her an extra 3 blocks, a certain direction, and I thought that I would come back around. But I ended up going 12 blocks the other direction when I was trying to come back. And I was so panicked that I didn't even realize that I was actually a block and a half from a police station. And I told her, bring me home, let's go home. And she brought me back to the apartment, and she'd never been in the area. She'd never, she just knew where to go, which was kind of amazing. So she helps me in that way. So, when somebody says, can you leave her behind? She's just a dog. You don't need her. You were coping well without her. as I've said before, if you call me isolating myself, and the other things, non-healthy, I should say unhealthy, coping strategies that I had, then yeah, I was coping very well. But I really wasn't. And so she's given me a aspect of a normal life. A lot of times the people who say that, they don't think twice about walking out their door. You know, getting ready and going, you know, or, you know, being able to go shopping without thinking about it. You know, day-to-day activities, you know, and these activities give me a great deal of anxiety. And so, you know, it's I think very difficult for somebody to really understand the value that a service dog has for their handler, unless they need one, or they, you know, are very familiar with, you know, the jobs and stuff like that, or the tasks, you know, that a service dog does. And one thing that I do want to point out, because I've had this comment said to me more than once, is basically saying that I'm cruel, because I'm forcing Jellybean to work for me. And I'll just state this: if you have to force your service dog to do stuff, then really that bond and that relationship, that trust that you have to have with your dog, you know, it's just not going to be there. And in reality, if you have to force your dog to do certain things, it shouldn't be a service dog. That's just plain and simple. You know, some dogs have a great temperament for being a service dog. Some dogs, you know, there's a variety of aspects that a dog needs to be able to be a service dog. And as I said, if you have to force your dog to do, though, you know, certain things, then, you know, obviously that's not the proper job for the dog. And some people do force their dogs to, you know, endure being out in public, because they want their pet with them and they want to take them everywhere. I know I posted pictures on Facebook on my doggy diaper bag. You know, it's not glamorous at all. My life is dependent and, you know, on a dog. You know, my life is on the end of a leash. So it is, you know, every time, you know, there's planning, if I want to go anywhere, I have to make sure that, you know, the people that I'm going with, you know, are aware that, you know, she's coming with me regardless. That, you know, the establishment is aware of the service dog laws, you know, whether I'm here in Canada or I'm in the States. You know, so there's a lot of preparation. It's almost like, you know, preparing to go out with kids. You know, you have certain things that you have to do. And, you know, and I have to be prepared for anything. You know, she could suddenly get sick. So I have an emergency, you know, cleanup kit. I have, you know, treats for her. I have, you know, things if I'm, you know, going to an establishment where we're eating, you know, I usually kind of give her something to occupy her time. And 90% of the time she's sleeping anyway, so she's usually pretty good in that area. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. And like I said, the whole purpose of this video was to hopefully help people understand that, you know, she's more than a pet. She's a service dog. She has a job, and I need her. And my therapist, I'll pause right there and I'll come back in a second. You know, one of the things that just came to mind is I've also had people go, you know, like, you don't need that dog. You know, why don't you try other things? You know, and I have. I've been on so many medications since I was 17 years old. That's 20 years of being on a variety of medications. The worst was being on antipsychotics. I never want to be on any. Yeah. And I have to be cautious with what I take because I have sensitivity to medications. So what works for one person might not work for another person. I see a psychologist on a fairly regular basis. I've been seeing her since 2006. I think it was June, I think was the month, was when I started seeing her. So I've been seeing her for quite a while. And so she's seen me through my highs, she's seen me through my lows, she's prescribed medications, she's taken me off of medications, you know, she's realized what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I've taken Jellybean with me to my appointments, and she has made the comment, which I was going to say before I went on this side tangent, is that she said that Jellybean has been more beneficial for me than any of the medications that she has tried to prescribe for me. And one of the things that I kept telling her was some people being on medication, they can tell right away, or within the time period that you're supposed to be on the medication, like I think it's 6 weeks or something, to be able to see if it's working. For me, any medication that I'm on, I don't notice a difference. And so I'm having to rely on other people. And I've had people going, yes, it's working, to, oh my gosh, you know, you really need to be off that particular medication that you're on because you're getting really super paranoid. And I don't see it, you know. So it was very, very hard for me to gauge personally if these medications were helping or not. And I hated relying on other people. So I'm not on anything really right now. I do take something for my anxiety when I need it from time to time. And having her doesn't stop the panic attacks. It doesn't stop the anxiety. I'm always gonna be hyper vigilant. You know, if we're out at dinner, you know, and we're talking, or you're talking to other people, what you might not realize is I'm gonna be constantly scanning for escape routes. And then that's just something that, you know, having PTSD does to a person, you know, when they have experienced such a traumatic event, that's the way our brains work. You know, we're always we can never relax. You know, we're always on a high, and, you know, it's very, very difficult for us to relax. And it doesn't matter if we're in a familiar place or with familiar people. It's just something that we do. And I know for me personally, you know, I'm always looking, you know, for, you know, escape routes. I'm always looking, you know, at the various people, like say I'm at a restaurant, you know, okay, you know, what is this person doing? You know, and I'm always trying to watch my surroundings because of the types of traumas that I have suffered. And like I said, I just hope that this, you know, video is a little more informative, because I find that, you know, unless you walk in my shoes, you're not going to understand. And so this is just my way of hopefully getting somebody, or, you know, people to understand what I'm going through, and that yes, I do need her, and, you know, and she is going to come with me no matter what. I guess the exception to that is if I'm going to someone's house and their dog is very dog aggressive, then that probably would be the only time that I would leave her home. Or find alternative arrangements for her. But other than that, that pretty much would probably be the only exception. I'm not sure, well, maybe if there's an emergency, but even then, it depends on the type of emergency. But yeah, so I mean, I'm just speaking, you know, in a non-emergency sense, is, you know, like I said, if someone has a dog aggressive dog, then, you know, obviously I'm not going to put her in danger. You know, she's way too valuable to me to do that. But yeah, so I hope it helps, and talk to you later.